emergency planning and recovery. I prepared a sheet here that just very generally talks about the Oregon Emergency Response System, Tillamook County, special districts that are of concern to our communities, and then also several of the community organizations. Just, this is almost by way of background. And there's a brief description of ORS here and a brief description of the county EOC without getting into the fire district's EOC. Then there's a chart that I mentioned previously. I think all the special districts will be recovering, hopefully, from any major disasters. And then there'll be the community recovery side of things. And there could be interfaces with special districts, of which there are some already in the planning stage. And then I gave you some background on what NOSD has planned and prepared for. And you may note that towards the back of this, towards back, let's see, the failure modes that are prepared by West Tech. It's sort of towards the end, attachment 3, and it breaks things down into almost individual failures, but you could imagine that if there's an earthquake or a tsunami, multiple failures would take place. So I would just like to open the floor. I don't know, Dan, if you want to offer some comments. I know you had mentioned something to me about special districts coordinating with each other, I think, and wasn't that? So the idea of that concept.
You're talking about the water districts, fire district.
Yeah.
Yeah. Coordinating with the fire districts here has been pretty easy. I think pretty good partnership. To get the other water districts to join in has been somewhat less productive. Okay, way to say it. So I do know that the water districts, and Jeff actually might have more information than this, but I know that Tim was working with them where they would share if there was a water failure at one of the districts, they would be able to help the other district out with water. They were talking about putting a tie-in up there off of Highland. I don't know where that's gone. I haven't been to any of their meetings.
Sadly,
once it got to the point when I brought up at that one meeting who's going to cost share what, that kind of brought it all to a stop.
Yeah, and it stinks because it's all of 20 feet or 40 feet of, and then we could have an emergency kind of water supply on either side. But
the reason I was concerned is, as you all well know, we need water here to stay operating, keeping our aquarium going. And so I thought it was a good idea, but once I brought up the IGA type of deal and who's going to pay for that connection between the two, that would be a shared assets. What that would be.
When was this?
Still there probably 2 years ago?
3, I think.
3, man. Yeah, I think. Yeah, and then there was no more meetings after that. Yeah, I sent them all the information to Bruce. I think his name's Bruce.
Bruce was trying to.
I sent all that information what to do to bring the two districts together to make that because it was smart to do it. If you run out of water here, they can pump some over into most of your system, or vice versa. They could pump it over. But when it got to the cost sharing thing, I think that's when it fell apart. But I'm not sure where it ended after that.
It has just kind of died a slow death, because then there was all kinds of talk about, well, if we can get a contract to put a cell phone tower up, that'll pay for that. And then there was it just we're in the endless death loop. So it's kind of fallen off their agenda.
Well, I know they went to the cell phone towers, but I was really pushing them to continue with their original idea of connecting to water districts. And that would help all the districts. That would help sewer, that would help the communities, people on both sides. But it never went anywhere after I mentioned the IGA. I wasn't trying to spoil it or anything. That would be a shared cost between the two districts, and I don't think it would have been that much.
It didn't seem like a terribly expensive.
You would have kept water in the fire hydrants. You know,
From NOSD's perspective, it would be nice to know that we weren't entirely dependent on the Netarts water
Yeah.
system.
well, and I believe the fire district was the same way. They know they can charge back up, keep the fire hydrants charged. Because in 2007, we had the big storm here. And when that tree fell over and took out the main water line from the Netarts Water District's water treatment plant, they had no more water for the rest of the community.
So should we continue to look into this or?
Well, I don't know. It's not our jurisdiction. I don't know. We don't want to be.
How far are we from an Oceanside water line?
Down at the bottom on Cape Mary's Loop Road for Oceanside.
So it would cost a little bit of money to have just as a backup water source to get a water line run up the hill.
When we were doing the treatment plant, we first went to Oceanside Water to supply us with water. And they wouldn't even respond. They didn't even.
Because they don't have enough water.
I don't know. One of their water sources is, when you first pull in our driveway, that
Yeah.
creek right there.
Yeah.
That's one of their water sources. And we figured it would have been shorter to bring water supplied by Oceanside to this treatment plant than from Netarts. But Netarts has done a pretty good job of getting auxiliary power. They've done a good job for backup. They have water reservoirs up there, tanks that are actually at elevation. So even if they lost water into Netarts, they could still feed us water to this treatment plant because it runs on an entire separate dedicated line from their treatment plant to this one.
Oh, that's good to know.
So
How vulnerable is that line?
what?
How vulnerable is that line in a?
It runs right along this road right here, so it's not vulnerable to like going through the woods where trees can fall, roots can take out the line. It's butt fused HDP line, so it's about that thick. You could lose part of the road and it would just dangle in the air.
And we are sited on a relatively stable.
This is all basalt.
Right.
Yeah, this is all basalt. We dug
Are they
down.
on the same basalt?
No.
Not on that hillside now, no. But it's pretty stable for ground movement. When our geotechs did all the work, this site was, because it was on basalt, but they didn't find any ground movement. They did going down the hill.
Mhm.
So that was also another reason you could slide and you could lose the sewer lines or you could lose the water line. But we have sewer lines in there. And that's why they're all constructed out of HDPE. Like I said, that stuff can hang in the air without any support under it and still not break.
So we're going to continue looking into this or?
Well, I don't know. I brought it up. I was getting information, but I think the fire chief's already pretty much.
Well,
Sounds like-
can we just put a query out about the water districts again and say, as part of our emergency planning, we were thinking that it would be wise to have backup. And the most obvious way to do that is to hook the two water systems up through this.
Well, they know that. I sat in the
What's,
meetings.
and what's the status of that?
Yeah, I can inquire on what the status is, if there is a status anymore.
Well, it might say, there's new board members. The new board members might be, oh, I didn't know about that, or that's a good idea. We should pursue it. And
Well, I could contact Christian at the water district and see if that's even a viable project. Maybe they've sheltered for a while. I don't know.
As we go forward, is it worthwhile to try to have a well, I hate, well, the term summit of all the special districts that have a piece of the pie here and get together and discuss it. Fire district, sanitary district, 2 water districts and PUD. I don't know. What do you think?
Just an emergency planning summit?
Excuse me?
An emergency planning summit or
Yeah.
just a water summit? Okay.
A planning summit, which would, a subcategory of that would be water, which concerns all the residents, but also the fire district in a big way and us in a big way. I don't know. What do you think?
I don't think it's a bad idea.
No, I totally agree. And that's something that has been on my list. I just haven't accomplished it, but
Yeah.
we'd be happy to co-host to take pressure off of, like, not just dump all this on Aaron's lap or something, but I'll be happy to take a huge chunk of that because that's,
Because PUD is changing too, as they bring on this station and things may be a little bit different as far as how we perceive them
Yeah.
and what they're doing.
I think it's a great idea.
I do, but I think that there's 2 layers of emergency planning discussion. One of them is the emergency planning discussion for the public.
Certainly.
And one of them is the technical discussion about what's in place among the special districts. And I would limit it to the second because the first is just too big and broad and the people there won't be empowered to do anything with that information, except, best practices to the public or whatever. But something that's basically the technical people talking about what's in place, what the possibilities are for sharing water, what is each organization doing for emergency management, kind of so everybody knows the big picture and see if there's any coordination possible. So as long as it was narrowed to basically that kind of discussion, I think it would be worthwhile. If it goes more broadly into community emergency planning, it's just chaos. It'll just be talk.
Can I go back a second to these charts and stuff that you put together?
Yeah.
You and I were at a emergency management workshop at SDAO, and they mentioned some organizations that I didn't know whether or not we were connected with. One is called Oregon Warren, Oregon Wastewater Emergency Response System.
is it through Orem, you said?
Warren,
Oh, okay.
Oregon Warren Wastewater Emergency Response System. There's also a Oregon Response Coordinating Assistance Agreements, which is mutual aid during emergency circumstances. It's also a thing called SPIRE, State Preparedness and Resource Equipment, which is just a source of emergency resources, just equipment that the state has that one can tap into. And I don't know if we're hooked up with any of those systems. This workshop was put on by some people from FEMA, if I remember correctly. But it's,
Were they the state people? I can't remember. Were they the state people or was there a FEMA person?
there was a
there?
FEMA person there, but the workshop was mostly run by people who were,
This was the presentation.
yeah, it was the presentation. So it was late in the day on the day that I was there.
Okay.
On the 6th.
So, to add on to your question, if you don't mind me adding, is do we have an emergency planning job description in the sanitary district? Is somebody in charge of disaster outlook, disaster preparedness, keeping track of all the things like SPIRE and these groups?
Not that, no. Ours is more specific to
Fixing the pipes.
yes, NOSD's
Right.
operation. Pipes, pump stations, wastewater treatment plant.
Generators.
Yeah, just our facilities is what it does. It does have in there about coordinating with the water districts, the fire department,
Right.
PUD, which is our normal OER emergency response anyway. So,
And I'm not trying to throw this on your desk, but maybe to the front office. Because what I've found is that all of the firefighters and EMTs will be out in the field. All of Dan and these guys will all be out in the field trying to fix a zillion problems. Could we maybe take some of the information that Simeon has and some of the information that's in this and create like just an emergency contact binder so that if all hell broke loose, we could, you know, as Brian's radioing up here, we could be making calls and at least have the contact with like state numbers.
so it's in the contacts are in our emergency plan already,
Okay,
all the way from Beacon Cube to Oregon State Park, Forest Service, anything that would involve.
so we just need to make sure that they have,
I'll,
I think there's,
Yes, I saw it, John put it in.
we just need to make sure they have Simeon's information.
So we have to, yes, we have to go through it to make sure. All the board members, and I think we have to make sure that the contact from which fire chief now, like you, has been updated.
what it was here.
Yeah, it's on page, page one.
Well,
Just kidding.
But there is a page with some phone.
So right here, if you look at, I think it's page 2, you see the planning coordination.
Yep.
With the different districts. And then on the last page, you'll see all the contact phone numbers.
I will,
Were some of yours on that list?
now, I'm gonna,
Because
I'm gonna look for these and get contact.
the reason
information.
because what you're saying is true, that the state has been trying to improve disaster preparedness for the whole state. And I think there may be some new things that we could add.
Yeah,
If you look at our summary, the 2-page thing, which kind of condenses down a smaller version of the big one. Doesn't have all the phone numbers, but it gives you all the procedures,
Right.
you know, and who you should contact and.
Yeah.
Yeah, and what.
I'm just wondering if there's some new groups that have emerged. Because I had not heard something about like Spire or any of those. I had not heard of that. So I wrote that down because I'll definitely find out about like water trucks.
I don't think we need to reinvent the wheel here. I think if we want to get something condensed. Oh,
People will just bring a phone number and be like, hey, I want to add it to the list. They don't think that that's gonna be it.
and we need to verify that all the numbers are still active.
so if we were, and you were to take the lead in trying to get together the special districts on a more technical basis, as Jerry is talking about, you probably need to develop an agenda and put it out there and say, hey, we'd like you to attend, rather than just saying, come on to a meeting,
Right.
so that they know what the subject material is. I don't know, maybe I'll work with you or whatever, if that's all right.
Yep.
We'll see if we can develop an agenda and then see if it makes sense to put it out there.
That sounds good. And we can either, if there's too many people for this room, we could host it at the fire station and we can use the classroom and do a lunch thing or something like that here.
So when you took over, I know that I was working with Tim on, in case of a major emergency, that the fire district and the NOSD didn't triple over each other up here.
Right.
So we were gonna come up with a kind of a coordinated plan, you know, because if you got your guys' shops in the inundation zone, right?
Right.
So we first started talking about what did we pull out to get some of your equipment in there during an emergency. We probably should finish where the Connex box is, but we probably should finish that as for the FEMA trailer or anything like that. I think you're working on the radios or the two-way radios.
Yep.
So I think we kind of need to have an organized designated area. You know, like
That would be
this,
great.
and during an emergency, fire district's got all this portion of the property, you know, and
That would be great, even just down to parking, like we could park along the fence, you know, so we're
Yeah.
not in the way, we're not parked all in front of the EOC. And now you guys are like, hey, we need to get the
Right.
generator out.
Right.
Okay, I gotta find it.
well, that's another reason,
Yeah.
you know, there's a gate right here to the middle of nowhere, it looks like. Well, that's not in the middle of nowhere, that's additional parking if we need to and for emergencies.
Okay, yeah, that's,
So you and I probably need to sit down and coordinate that and then come up with something for the board.
that'd be super.
Your last comment about updating those phone numbers, I did 2 months ago. Checking them, they're all active.
So anyway, yeah, you know, this is designed as a helicopter landing pad
Right.
between the two. And we probably should actually make that official. It was actually for the fire department, for the forest department,
Right.
forest.
I think you get on a list and then they actually come and land here.
To land a helicopter, make sure they can do it.
Yeah.
Well, they've done it.
Oh, they have.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so it's done.
We had Coast Guard, I think, in a joint training with the fire department one time.
Yeah, I think they did have Coast Guard and then they had Flight for Life come up.
Yeah, life flight, I think one time, I do remember one time was Coast Guard landed here as well. The only complaint they had was nothing was marked on the asphalt. You know, there was no big H in a big circle or anything like that to keep clear.
So we're supposed to mark that someday.
Well, I was gonna talk to him about it. Should we do something like that? Because in an emergency, somebody's gonna park wherever they can park.
Right.
And then you gotta run out or I gotta run out and tell them to move because you gotta.
Helicopter coming in.
It'd be great to have a marked helipad with a windsock.
We should do that, and that way, because I think the Coast Guard had one of them, there was nothing here marking if there were overhead lines or there was
Yeah.
anything that would have been a problem. But that's why that shop sits so far out, is we made this area in agreement with the Forest Service, because they're claiming the water in the lagoons. Cheap way to empty one.
Oh, God.
It's gonna be a poopy fire, but yeah.
They'll put a fire out.
They take biosolids and spread in forest.
So
Hey,
is
John.
this some kind of marking of a heliport pad and a windsock, something to pursue?
They're gonna talk,
Yeah,
they're gonna talk about it.
Excuse me?
They're gonna talk about doing that.
Yeah.
That's what they're gonna meet on.
and then we'll bring it up at a board meeting, they're probably at one of your board meetings.
I know our people would be all.
Yeah,
all
this would be a
in favor.
joint effort out here.
John, I'll help with the summit idea. Help with the summit.
That'd be great.
Okay,
And then you and I will do the designate who gets what area during.
Yeah, that'd be really great. And that was part of the reason I kind of threw this flare up a few meetings back and said, with Overt now having their Connex box out there and having food stored in it and water, and we're starting to revamp the EOC. If something happened, not Cascadia, but if something happened like the windstorm and you guys were not able to get home, do we have, as this district, do we have enough food or supplies that you guys can stay here for 72 or 96 hours if you couldn't? Because
Not without.
that's something I would really like to, for this district, and as a board member here, is push for some emergency storage here so that, because we still have one person that lives at Netarts. Yeah. And everybody else is in Bay City.
We've got food, water, and we're getting caught. So
But
Well, that's why, Jerry, I had that, wanted it over here, but over there, because I wanted parking for emergency and FEMA. But that's why your place where you're at.
no, I'm saying for you, for
Yeah.
your staff. We got plenty of stuff to set you guys up with
But
an
we-
emergency
but we don't.
place to stay. huh?
We don't have enough stuff because I've got a very small amount of stuff for the plan for the EOC. Part of the plan of the EOC is the only way the volunteers would agree to volunteer during an emergency, like a windstorm or a Cascadia, is if their families were taken care of. And so my goal has been to prop up this EOC to be specific for these volunteers' families, so that if their house collapses, a tree goes through their house, whatever, we can relocate them to the EOC. So it's kind of that whole thing that I think Brian will relate to this. You got Army stuff, you got Marine stuff, you got Navy stuff, and you got Air Force stuff, but your stuff is not my stuff and my stuff is not your stuff. So we have a lot of stuff in Connex boxes, but that Connex box is your stuff.
Yeah.
And your stuff. I've got a Connex box going in for him and Netarts. It'll be his stuff. They're from Bay City. They got no stuff. My stuff in the EOC is for my volunteer stuff. So I want us to have stuff for whoever's here.
Ken, you might have misunderstood me. We all
I did.
have stuff for other purposes, but I bet right now you and I could agree on maybe taking some of it and setting up a separate stash of stuff that will be theirs. Or we can go get more. That's fine.
I can't do that because I'm already funding part of Overt. I'm funding mine and I'm funding Nerve.
I was just gonna go get one of the big water bottles and 3 cots. And
I'm
some-
thinking about
and
like,
some
I'm
rations.
thinking about like Mountain House Foods, you know, like a good, I don't know.
We're just
We've got
talking
how
about
many
3 or
people?
4 people.
How many?
We got 9 people.
Okay, well, yeah, okay, so
Well,
we'll figure that out.
We have a line item for emergency
Mhm.
stuff. We can pull out of that line item for emergency.
Yeah.
So part of that emergency, working with you guys and the fire district, not as board members, but on the 7th, we could come up with a list
Okay.
of what you think we should have and stuff. If not, we have a combination of the lock anyway.
I see.
But
So anyway,
I'm all for, I spending some of our money on having supplies here for you guys if you're stuck here. I think that's a great idea.
And we have plenty of room out in the shop. We could put
Oh, yeah, right.
rubber cabinets. We could put some up in the mezzanine. We can make it work. We can get cots. We could get those package blankets, like the green ones we used in the military, and MREs.
Mhm.
Not excited. but
seeing
we
how
can
the
do
weather
something.
is changing a lot drastically over the
We
last
have
few
all those
years,
things now.
Yeah.
you know,
We're getting.
we can get stuck up here just because of the ice and we can't get out. We're just
Right. Yeah, never,
That's why I mentioned, I thought you guys had a set of chains. That's not the case.
It's not the case. This is not a county or state road.
I know.
They bring their equipment out.
So,
Here's the positive though, with PV up here, they'll clear that road to get to this. I already spoke to that about some of that.
Yeah, well,
So
the bridge goes down over the Tillamook River and the Tillamook River
Yeah.
floods. Then you're going all the way, well, who knows where to get out of here.
so,
I
and that's
just
an
don't want you
issue.
guys Stuck with no food and then it becomes kind of almost what we're trying to avoid with Overt and Nerve of, I'm hungry. Oh, the fire department's got stuff. And then I've got 20 families over there, like, what are you taking my stuff?
No, I 100% agree. I think we need to look in this, come up with a list of like, I'm gonna lean to kind of you guys to say what that requirement would be, or what's the minimum we should have. Look, I keep spare pumps, I keep spare everything. I guess spare food isn't.
Yeah. So
We're gonna
I-
be your
I-
generator.
Yeah.
I talked to numerous people about what they think, they're gonna need or whatnot for this, in case that you have a catastrophic.
Right.
And the first thing they say is, how's the people that operate the plant, how are they gonna get here? And so is there a place that the county has designated as if the bridge goes out, do they have a boat that they're gonna come and put there, or?
We've got a boat that we will, if we're in communication with people, then we will try and get there. And I only say that boldly because when I mix up the years between the windstorm or the giant flood, but during the giant flood, Chief Carpenter said that they were cut off for, again, about a week or two.
Yeah.
And so they had basically acquired a clamming boat and they were running up the river to get prescriptions filled at Safeway.
Yeah.
And they were running medications back and forth up and down the river. So the good news, I think good news for us is the boat we have now is capable of going out the bay, around the rocks, going into Tillamook Bay, and we could access Garibaldi, Bay City, those kind of things during a high tide, or obviously during, not at low tide, but at high tide.
Well, in that case, could we catch a ride?
Yes,
Just go across and get you.
I mean, I would just have to walk down the street from my house and Jeff can come pick me up and I can be out here and however long it takes to get me out here.
we can start the
I
water
don't know,
Uber,
but I can
the Uber.
require some.
You have to communicate with them somehow.
So the second thing is, so you get a boat, you get it coming from east to west. You're gonna need a 3-wheeler and a chainsaw.
That's correct, yeah. And so I just got us a grant. Well, I got it, one for the Netarts, one for Oceanside, but PUD has given us a grant. It's not very big. But they did give us a grant for chainsaws.
Oh, you got it. I didn't.
We got a partial. We got $2,000, which will get us 2 saws, but one for Oceanside, one for Netarts. So we are developing that. The 4-wheeler is a thing.
One of the last CAC meetings that I chaired, we were talking about getting a inventory of how many 3-wheelers there are in
In town, yeah.
And just, it stopped at around 20.
I don't see as many as,
I don't either, but they're in somebody's garage somewhere.
right.
But that's something that is gonna, it wouldn't even have to be that catastrophic.
Right. And that's kind of what I
31 to be no way gone. And it's some of these back roads that, as far as Simpson land goes, they're denuded.
Right.
So they're gonna be passable even if it's slit here and there.
Yeah.
Because there won't be any trees.
And that's exactly what our plan, the whole road behind here going back to
Right.
That's why that road for us is so great, because we can get from Station 61, I can take a truck and make it to here. So that's kind of our whole plan, is assuming that most of us survive.
Bringing it back to NOSD. You're gonna go forward with getting a list of
I'll get
what
that, yeah.
will be advised.
Yeah.
And we get that obtained and stored here somewhere, and you'd have access to it. The other piece of it is, if we're gonna be needing help transporting staff here during that, and it's likely to be, a boat. Brian doesn't have a radio at his house,
We can fix that.
so we should,
How far
we
the
should- we need,
radios
we need
go?
to, we need to address the communication of the need for transportation and the communication that it's coming. So you don't go down to the river just hoping they're gonna show up.
We
So I'm
have
saying,
several routes to get in here, just so you know. We've been through several storms, even through Sand Lake, even through the dump road. When there's emergency, we carry chainsaws in the district trucks.
well, I
During the
think,
storm period.
okay, that's great. But I think in terms of planning, is like at this summit, it would probably be a good idea to address the idea of, if the staff needed to run the water in cemetery districts need transportation, and you've got transportation, how does the need get communicated and the acknowledgement that you're coming? So maybe.
Well, we would actually, let me say this, we would actually have a radio because there's enough trucks here too, that if it was a bad enough storm, I'd probably bring one home. Because we have more than enough trucks. Yeah, 2 that go home with 2 operators, back up and on call. The district superintendent has one, and then we still have one in the shop that we use.
So
They all have radios.
From your house, share a repeater with the fire district up at the water tower for the Netarts Water District.
Well, for Brian or somebody, whoever would be the designated, and what I was gonna answer Simeon's question is we could give them a true VHF on our dispatch frequency, and which Oceanside has one of those, 2 of those, so they can hit us off a repeater or off of,
Okay,
so I would be able to communicate with Brian even around around the corner. If it's GMRS, like walkie-talkie system, it's line of sight,
Yeah.
That won't reach.
so maybe a little bit more once we get the bait, we're gonna put a base station in for a repeater.
And they're not expensive, so you can get a good VH. I always get the numbers
Yeah.
mixed up, but the V is a long range.
Yeah.
And that will reach you, that frequency, will that reach you from Bay City with the repeaters?
Assuming that the towers are up, like it wasn't, if Cascadia hits, all bets are off, but outside of Cascadia, yes, all the repeaters in the county, it would grab one of them, and I talked to Garibaldi and Bay City quite frequently on a portable, so.
So we just need to, just this action item. So
Yeah.
Yeah, let's put a radio that can reach station, give him a sheet to keep with the radio. That's a protocol, send you're calling station 61, so, because there's gonna be a lot of traffic on that
Yes.
frequency.
Call signs again.
You know how that works.
So let's address that for us, what we're gonna do in the need of transportation for staff by the fire department to here in case of emergency. And then if we can set that up, that's kind of a nice model then to present at a summit of the other
That's,
special
yes,
districts.
that's
Say,
really cool.
we've got this set up and it's probably a good idea for you and this is how we did it. And that'll turn it into a community. So that way you can, if you need to pick some people up in a boat, you can pick up more than.
Yeah.
more than one.
one thing I've learned though, you can never prepare enough because, and during a real emergency, you find out what you.
What you didn't think about.
Yeah.
Real quick, usually.
Does anybody know where the water district people live? Just curious, there's so fewer of them.
Netarts has two that live in Netarts, Dave and
Okay.
his assistant.
Christian lives like way north somewhere.
Just up the
My
you know,
issues
so-
with the water districts with. And we always, because all our stuff would always work, we do. The
Yeah.
water districts only because they need staff and people.
Yeah.
So, and that's fine. Low staff and keep your user rates in your budget low, but as soon as there's emergency, you
They
need to
don't.
draw off everybody else's resources to make up for that. So I don't know if you recognize that or.
Oh, yeah.
So what else? We got, we have a planning summit. We have marking the heliport pad and the windsock. We got emergency food storage for district staff. We have the getting across the river issue, communications issues to address. And I'm just looking at the sanitary district side of things to make it more robust in doing its job. Is there anything else we need to cover there before we sort of drift over into the community type things?
I think that's I feel much better knowing that we're moving in a direction.
I have a question. Is there any kind of equipment or material that we should intentionally stockpile for in case of emergency? I know you've got backups for, because parts are always hard to get and stuff like that, but is besides staff, shelter, is there any kind of materials and stuff that you guys use and you depend on your monthly deliveries or your every 6 month deliveries that it would be worthwhile for us to stockpile? I don't know.
The only thing I could think of would be lab stuff, and that really you can't stockpile.
Well, you can't because the shelf life on a lot of that.
They expire.
Is really short. But at that point, our permit allows us that 10-year storm I talked about.
Yeah.
So if we can't, if we run out of stuff to do certain tests, we will already have a pass for that from DEQ.
A pass, but we have the materials.
Well,
On the testing.
Yeah.
so on
We
the
would have-
testing, we have a certain amount that probably can get us through a month or two without delivery. After that's when we're gonna start to run out.
And the shelf life is a month or two.
Up to
Most of it's anywhere from
90 days.
4 months, I think, to 6 months.
So
But we would have to be without.
So the emergency would have to hit us at a time when we just hadn't been stopped yet because we're careful on how we order it so it doesn't, so we don't have to throw it away.
I was just asking, I didn't just.
And actually, the good news is we only do lab once a month. So,
Right.
I mean, we monitor all month long, but we only do an actual lab once a month. So if it falls in the middle of the month, we have nothing to worry about because there's really no testing.
And if we didn't do a lab for a month, it wouldn't close the
Well,
plant.
luckily, we only do lab once a month.
Yeah.
And moving
No.
away from lab, you've got fuel for the generator, that's for a generator, that's for an emergency.
You got extra parts for things that you might need extra parts for.
Oh, yes. The last couple of years, we've really done a good job on re-inventory in the shop with spare parts.
So wait till I hit you tonight if you've read your district report on how we prepared for emergency truck that was just off.
Right.
Because we can't move pumps at the main
Yeah.
pump stations.
Yeah.
That's part of our emergency plan. Is I continue.
Which that crane will move a tree out of our way.
So, but anyway, yes, we're continually trying to evolve. The food stuff, I didn't think much about. We have to keep a couple cases of water, only because we sometimes can't depend on the water district to always supply water. But this is potable.
Right.
Yeah. Case of water is not gonna have pressure.
Or-
Oh, we could stock the entire fridge out there with
Yeah,
water.
we have stuff to keep the plant alive. If we can't get flow, we feed it dog
Not the
food.
employees.
So when you see that on there, I've been questioned before, why, you guys got dogs? No, we actually use dry dog food. Think about it like you would feed your fish tank, you put the dry food on top. It's the same thing we do with the treatment plant.
That's hilarious. Alpha.
So when you see
Actually,
Alpha, yeah,
we see it
don't
spiked
think
up.
that we're trying to feed our dogs at home. So that's part of our emergency planning, but I'll really tell you, I never really thought about the food stuff until you brought it up. I mean, I really did.
There's stuff online that you can, it's surprising how much they recommend, water, how much water to
Yeah.
drink because you're stressed out.
Well, you need more water than you do food,
You can go
Right.
days and days without food, but water, you have to have that.
Yeah.
but we
Sure.
have to supply water anyway to staff all of water when we're out in the field and it gets a certain temperature. They have to give them breaks. We have to put them in some air conditioning, which is the camper van, and we have to supply cold water or drink or fluid, yeah.
I guess.
So,
Don't put that out in public.
MREs in the military,
district has
they actually detain you for 2.5 days. There's so many calories in it.
And what was it?
So the old military MREs have so many calories in them that it can actually sustain your body for a minimum of 2.5 days.
Yeah.
You can break them down because they come in several different pouches. You got your main meal, your snacks. Good luck eating the cracker without water, but it'll last you an entire day.
Wow.
It'll keep your body enough nutrients in your body for a day.
And you won't poop for a month, so you get that.
No, they give you gum for that.
Yeah, so eat the gum.
And then 20 years later, and that's like, have to eat another MRE.
So what other topics do we have on the sanitary district side of things?
That's
Any
all.
others? That come
Not
to mind?
not at this point. I think we hit some of the,
Okay,
some stuff I hadn't even thought of, but yeah, I think we had some more guidance there.
Thank you for letting me go on my little emergency preparedness rant.
It's your job.
It's what you're
Yeah.
doing. What we have here.
and we had the input from Simeon
Yeah.
that he provided a short email about.
Well, I thought Aaron asked us to send something in.
John asked everybody
Yeah,
to.
And I was the only one who did.
You were the only one who did the homework. They
Okay,
should've gone
mostly-
with-
I wasn't gonna say that. Okay, now,
For sure, you were the only one that remembered, because I'm like, what? What happened?
Should've got your little stuff.
but anyway, Simeon, do you want to,
So basically what I'm asking here, one way to think of NOSD is that we're the community body that has been tasked with maintaining sanitary services. That's our job. And how would we do that in the event of a catastrophic failure of the plant for one reason or another? How do we continue to serve our two communities with whatever their sanitary needs. What do we need to have in place to pull that job off? That's the question I'm asking here.
And I think that's super important. Because when I threw out the thing about, we got to deal with poop. And so people are going to, dealing with water is going to kind of fall to the water districts, dealing with poop's going to fall to the sanitary district, and dealing with collapsed houses as fires is going to fall to my district. And I don't have the answer. I know that the next Connex box we get, I think Jeff's trying to get us the level 5, level 1, it's the big one.
Yeah.
And it has a couple of little, like porta potties that are like folded up,
Mhm.
and then you kind of assemble them.
So, yeah, I mean, what I'm thinking is I was a cook on an archaeology project, which was out in the middle of nowhere. And we had 90 people that lived there for 6 months. And, the first thing we did when we got in there was to dig the outhouses. That was before we put up the mess tents and the residences.
Because you got to pee and poop before you do that. Yeah.
And there's recommendations for where to do it.
Yes, indeed. And it seems like we're the people who should think about that.
And
For the community, or?
Yes.
That's our job.
I think I had
So-
mentioned when we talked about this briefly, I forget when, but a shovel and lime. And if you've got the right sense to dig your hole in an appropriate place.
Yeah.
And how deep does a hole need to be?
And how, yeah, well, and how many do we need for how many people?
And in what, the depth and all that, but they do make toilet seat. It's collapsible.
Yeah.
For this type of, and you put together a kit with directions. And, it includes toilet paper.
Do we know how the emergency planning group up in Manzanita is handling the sanitary aspects of their process?
I know how they're doing their individual training.
Because they
Very
also have
similar.
sanitary districts up there too.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the question becomes, what is their interface, if any,
Yeah.
with their sanitary districts? Or are they separate or independent? I know they got the medical core group, and I think the medical core group, as an ancillary to it, works some of the sanitary issues, but I'm not sure how
Seems
it
to be
actually.
more based on the personal preparedness that
Yeah.
everybody has. Like, we would all have a sanitary kit in our house that would be kind of what Jim's describing, which is, a Home Depot bucket with a bag of lime that's sealed up, that's in that bucket with a seat cover and some TP. And then that would be your sanitary bucket for you or for your house. And everybody would have one, but
So sooner or later, you gotta empty that bucket.
right. And sooner or later, we're gonna have, if anything weird happens 4th of July weekend, then we've got 2,200 people in Oceanside, 3,000,
So
20.
I don't know if you guys thought of this, but so what you're just saying is if there's a catastrophic emergency, these little porta potty buckets, but you're assuming that they're gonna be staying in their houses with no water and no sewer and no electric.
For a period of
They're
time.
camping
I
out
think
at
a lot
home.
of people will stay to have, if their home is tenable to shelter in. I think from my past experience in California, people stayed in their homes for rain protection and to guard their stuff.
Okay.
Because our shelters are in Oceanside, the chapel, in Netarts is Friends Church, and that's assuming that we can't evacuate.
So you know where our facility sits here. You share it back there. Between us, we have 2 showers in your facility and ours. We have multiple bathrooms. Okay, as long as we still get water from the Netarts water plant, we'll also have potable water. So in the community, if people are staying out there, we can open our pump stations up, open the wet wells, and they can empty their buckets. Okay, so you don't have to go dig a hole and put a line.
So long as the
You're
pipes
gonna have
go
to
up.
haul your bucket there, wherever you live.
Yeah,
But down Oceanside, you
Yeah.
know where our,
yeah.
as long as the tsunami didn't take that pump station out. Or if you guys are high ground, you can always come up here, shower, refill your water bottles, provided Netarts water. I'm more concerned about Netarts water than
Mhm.
any of them as far as. And so if homes are gone, they're gonna have to go somewhere. You're talking about cots and all that. So we have water and we have showers, stuff like that. That will help out a lot of the community. If whatever pump stations, even if they can't pump to here, those wet wells have a lot of storage. And a 5-gallon bucket at a time, it's gonna take a long time to fill them. So those can be made as designated area for your guys' planning. Can be made as designated areas to take your buckets or your porta potties. Dump sites. And dump sites to dump that stuff in. No plastic
Eric, you
bags,
seem
no house.
super excited about this.
Well, she's gonna be running the truck that picks all the garbage out. So anyway,
Eric's like, I don't want to be on bucket duty.
I want you guys to think of that as long as we have potable water, you know, we're gonna have generators, you know, we're gonna have power. So that will give some release. If they want to stay in their homes and they want to do the bucket thing, you don't gotta dig a hole. We'll open up a pump station and we'll have the guys open the wet wells and we'll set up times where people can go dump their buckets.
Make them operator.
And they can come up here,
Yes.
organize, take showers and things like that.
Some of that's new information to me because they haven't occurred to me. You're probably gonna have one of the safest water connections because it's
We
just
are.
right here and you're prepared for it. But at the same time, our planning has always, as I understand it, incorporated an element of not encouraging people to come up here, that to stay down there so that we aren't interfering
And it
with.
was more of a security thing, Brian, but I think we could figure out a way to process maybe that through or something. I don't know.
That's my point, is we should look at that now.
Yeah.
I was looking at the way I've seen you guys are organizing your communities, that you're in control of bringing up groups.
It was the other way around. We're in control of bringing supplies down. That's how we've got it. In fact, fundraising for a 3-wheeler or something with a trailer is on my list because we've always emphasized that we've got the stuff up here because it's secure and out of the zone. And it's got a fence around it. It's not going to get looted.
Yeah, we didn't want 10,000 tourists,
Right.
2,000, go crazy, but we didn't want 1,500 tourists coming. Hey, there's food up that road.
So we're going to find places to stay down there and then we're going to organize coming up and getting the supplies and bringing it down so we don't have mass.
Yeah.
But if we also organize then bringing up or figuring out what to do with waste.
But if they're.
And we people up a few at a time to take showers.
The reason this was designed its way is because we went through those storms and the water district, Netarts lost water to all the community. Our treatment plant was down below. We almost lost the treatment plant.
Right.
Was because it had no flow to it. So, and people then were going down to the bay, dipping buckets in of salt water. They were dumping in their toilets and they were using that. Trouble is, our treatment plant can't take water with salt in it.
No, so.
Okay, so no sodium. So they were actually damaging the treatment plant by doing that.
And I
So,
can certainly see that happening again if we don't educate them.
so you guys look at that as a resource and also potable water, because you can only stock so much water
Right.
bottles in there. But we can certainly refill your water.
Jeff,
Yeah,
we need to organize that information.
yeah,
And that's, I mean, I had not thought about
Like
that,
maybe
and that actually relieves me.
maybe a staging area at the bottom of the,
I actually thought you were placed here, you guys were gonna bring people up here, do your triage, do whatever you need to do.
No.
And control.
That's the chapel, and also we're recruiting people that are agreeing to take people in. We never intended to have people up here because we thought it would interfere with emergency back and forth. So,
Well, we'll have to make sure that we have volunteers that maybe will direct traffic. That whether it's foot traffic, car traffic. Because one of our biggest worries when Tim and I talked about it was people parking on the roadway, blocking emergency services, because they're all trying to run for high ground, you know. So,
we need to talk more to experts. In my brain, it's still, wow, great. This is going to be the source of stuff that we use to help support people that are living.
I want them to come use the bathrooms here so they can keep the streets running. Okay, so it's a little selfish, but yeah.
About a side by side versus a ATV and a trailer.
So,
You said 3-wheeler and a trailer.
something that we could use to haul water and food and things.
I would look at a side by side because you're not towing a trailer around.
I don't know what side by side.
It's like a four-wheeler,
But go kart with a
Next
trailer.
time you
with a
come
bed.
out, or when we break, Brian can show you what our side by side.
Okay, great. Sure.
Yeah.
That's,
Or you guys have one here?
maybe we can.
I didn't know that.
Maybe we
I
can.
plan ahead for emergencies.
Well, we use ours for
He's got
maintenance, run up and down the main roads here and stuff.
We have a tractor out there.
Yeah, we got a tractor.
We can clear roads.
Oh, I
We've
got
had to do
roads.
this over the years just to get this plan.
A side by side could cost anywhere from 10 grand to,
Our two districts carry
$1,000, depending on what you want.
gallons of diesel.
um,
The tanks will have two pump stations, which are another thousand.
Can I go back to
why don't
Simeon's
we volunteer without his permission?
comment about responsibility for sanitation? Where do we go with that comment?
I think we go to information and also like the idea of everybody should have a kit, like you were talking about. And then maybe we organize, then we organize a good deal on those and advertise it to the community to try to buy, like we did with Go Bags a few years ago.
Oh, yeah.
But if they're gonna dump it in the wet wells, we don't want lime in it.
Do we look
I didn't say
into
that.
what
Oh, I
Manson
didn't hear you say
does?
But I've made a note to call them.
Okay,
So yeah, all of these ideas need to be now organized into something, but they are new. This is new information. This is another element to our planning. So
which I'm
Back in
actually,
Netarts, we had pump stations, Netarts and Happy Camp. People most likely could walk there. Ocean Heights Development has its own pump station.
Yeah.
So we can open those up. and
what if we
they can
just put
handle it
like
as
the
well.
old outhouse seats across? Across the wet well, and they can just go in there and be like, grab a book and.
So it's kind of like days now.
Yeah, log in there.
It's your facilities that can help so that they don't have to like all converge onto this treatment.
yeah, but we have to then plan about someone going down and preparing it and opening up the gate
Yeah.
and being there maybe.
Yeah.
So people don't dump it in the
Well,
wrong.
no. So we've got, well, we don't have 9. We have, us guys can handle more than one at a time. We may have to have you guys assist with somebody that's gonna monitor to make sure nobody throws something in there they shouldn't or something like that. But if we
Yeah,
work
we-
together, we can make this happen.
And yeah, we
awesome.
need like a good information sheet that says,
Yes,
Board members,
what do you
we can
put in your bucket?
issue
Yeah.
What
keys
don't
to the
you
board
put?
members.
well, like the no salt water, I
Okay.
would have never known
Just call me,
that.
let me
That's
know,
like
go down
huge
and unlock
information,
it, I'll
yeah.
tell you how to disarm it.
Like,
But you don't
can't
need in the
do
building,
ours.
you only need to unlock the wet well.
Yeah.
That's just one padlock. Okay, and then we'll show you how to open it safely, leave
And
it.
that assumes we know that the
Yeah.
pipes that bringing stuff up are still,
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
not broken.
Well, even if they're not, they're better holding tanks than digging a hole in the ground.
How big are the
well,
holding tanks?
so do,
3,000 gallons at some of the smallest ones.
Oh, that's a lot.
So it is, a
That's a
5-gallon
lot.
bucket.
Yeah,
And they all have safety covers, or when you open the lids, you can't fall in. So even
okay,
if you're
Jeff,
dumping your
Jeff, we
bucket,
gotta have a whole
it's got
discussion.
grids there, you can't fall into the
Aaron
well.
is just like, can we?
we're
wanna go look?
talking about a situation with,
I'm
which
gonna have you take.
could be applicable whether or not we have electric power. Right?
That's the other thing, every pump station has an electrical power generator.
We paid a lot of money for those.
Yeah. No, I know
But
that, but
even if they did not have power to pump, we could still go into the
If-
wet well.
the
Right,
question is, yeah, we might have to have a truck drain the wet well.
We don't
Yeah,
have
we can do
Yeah.
that.
to be able to get a truck in here to drain our.
Well,
If we get to the point where we filled every wet well, I'm
Look,
just swimming out somewhere.
By then we'll be in
That shark
evacuation.
state-
We'll be in evacuation.
You gotta remember too, Cindy,
Carla?
so
we have 9 pump stations.
Yeah.
does this,
So that's more than what 2,000 people are gonna.
does this result in a small plan and maybe eventually a flyer so that people know that this, could be
I think
a
it's good,
process.
important information to get out there.
We can have a big community Zoom session on it.
Excuse me?
We have a big community Zoom session on it. We've got a really well organized information
Yeah,
that we're.
Overt would be thrilled to have this as part of its.
Yeah.
And then we can.
Big as
You thought you knew shit. You know?
If we have this big readers already,
But
Yeah.
Jerry,
we're gonna be on site anyways.
Right.
at least look into Manzanita and see
Yes,
what they do or don't do.
yes. And I think this whole discussion is also something that would be really good when we have a summit.
And also perhaps besides the EC, whatever they are, I always get the acronym screwed up for up there, but also to see what their interface, if any, is with their sanitary
Yes.
districts, to see if they have any kind of plan, like what you're mentioning as far as dumping into the wet wells.
Very. Yes, exactly.
Well, years ago, when you brought up, a few years ago, you brought up about the tablets you put in a bottle and some water that you get to sterilize it.
Yeah.
And I said, why don't you just designate your Netarts water plant to have a water fill station there? And people could go there and fill up gallons of water or whatever. Same thing with Oceanside. Oceanside would be a little more difficult,
Mhm.
but because of the way it's laid out, but Netarts is laid out here.
Okay.
All right. So what else?
That was really good. I
Oh,
appreciate,
it's
I
awesome.
appreciate us going down that rabbit hole. Sorry, Aaron. Sorry about the bucket list.
That's 3 minutes.
Okay,
Right, well, no, great.
what am I doing?
Nothing.
Nothing? Okay, that's right, I am doing that. What about cots or having the back building be a place where people could sleep or whatever?
The general public,
Excuse me?
the general public?
Well, I don't know.
Well, the ones that are most distraught that have maybe lost their entire homes, I think I've talked with you about, we could pull our equipment out. You said you have cots.
We're getting some.
Yeah. Yeah, so if we have to, we make room in the inside of the building. Our equipment can sit outside. People cannot during the storm.
And
Now, I'm
that's,
not saying we can sleep 1,600 people up here. We're not a resort or an inn.
Well, but if we were pulling people out gradually, if they were flying in helicopters and pulling people out gradually, because there's no other way in or out, this could be a staging area
But have to be,
where people would come, you know, the next group of people that were getting pulled out. Because you can't put that many people in a helicopter, you can put them up here for a
Or
day or
if we
two,
had people that were injured,
right?
if they could be brought up here, and then it would be easy if a chopper comes in to air back them out.
when you're talking about that kind of disaster, you're talking about National Guard and flying in those double prop Chinook
Yep,
helicopters, which
Yep,
fit.
yep.
Could you put one in out here?
Oh, yeah.
I don't know how
We
many,
used to land them in the back of ships.
But we're at
We
the,
could get it
What-
back here.
we're at the third or fourth tier of when they're gonna get to us, though. So
Yeah.
that's the big thing is that the reason I'm more panicked about this is the state folks that Orem or that Overt and Netarts or NERV has been talking to are talking about 6 months. That nobody's gonna be here for 3 to 6 months. And when I heard that, I was like,
hard to, but how
We were
many,
out here.
I don't know, how many litters do you think Chinook could hold? What, 20, maybe
Probably 30 to 40.
30 or 40?
You're talking about, those are National Guard. They're gonna be stripped down. Obviously, no firearms. So they're not gonna have all the mounts and the ammo and all that on there. It'll be straight in there with what they call webbing seats. It looks like cargo webbing hold downs, and it comes in with tube frames. So they put those things in a matter of seconds. And there's
Oh, you're talking
4
about
rows.
seats, right?
Yeah.
I'm thinking in terms of if you configured it in a hospital litter type,
Oh, hospital?
I'm thinking 20 to 30, somewhere in there.
No, not with that, because you're talking about the roll-on litters, or they're gonna stack them with the fiberglass safety boards, you're gonna probably look at 15 to 20.
Okay,
Because you gotta make room, plus they gotta have the medical personnel on the chopper to keep them.
Yeah.
IVs monitored. But if you're talking about just evacuation of just people
So-
with a broken leg or something that could sit down,
yeah.
you can get 30, 40 people.
Well, and the other thing is, I don't know if you can get a Chinook in here. That's a little bit bigger machine
He says you
than
can.
some of the others.
They landed us on sides of cliffs. They can get it in here.
These people aren't gonna propel out.
We didn't either. They dropped the back hatch off and they just,
Okay.
So
So-
anyway, yeah,
If you go into the back building, what are we talking about? As far as, cots potentially, or what are you thinking? Cause what would it be, 3 bays,
for,
4 that you own, that we own?
one is their bay.
Okay, one is
There's five.
yours,
There's 5 bays.
5 bays altogether,
How
including,
many cots were they gonna,
100.
I think Orem was gonna get us 100 cots. I mean,
And they haven't yet, and that was a year ago, but I haven't really pushed them hard.
And the shocks are heated, not air conditioned.
Can I suggest, I mean, the availability of all of that has always been something that none of us have really looked at because we've always respected Carpenter especially, didn't want us to plan on having that space, used. If it is, then we need to go back, not plan it here. Thank you. Now we know there's some more space up here that we can think about how to use. Now we need to go back and think about what we've got and how we would use it and then come back. Yep. I think it feels too top down here.
I think also we should walk through there and decide what we can safely put in there. We can't pull everything out, but I think if we could figure out what the max is that we could put in there, that would
Yeah.
probably be.
so you
What I'm thinking is that we've never really had a confident level about how to help people with medical needs beyond quick triage
Right.
version. But this is just me. But I think we reserve that area for people with medical needs. So that we can put our medically trained people up there, and that's where we put our equipment. And people that don't have that, we deal with like we were going to down in the housing that we have down here, and reserve this for people that might need to be transported out quickly. See what I'm saying?
Yep.
And we could get medical supplies up here, and not try to get enough medical supplies spread around the community.
Yeah.
To say, okay, you're hurt, we take you up there, and for as long as you need it, we've got space for you. And then we're gonna take you back down to put you in a house.
We can take-
Okay,
So what you're saying is that area would be primarily, at least initially, to address medical needs.
that's just my,
Yeah,
I
no, I
agree
mean-
because
Because these guys, your fire people, our wastewater people, they can get hurt out what they're doing too. So what I'm hearing is, I got a place to bring somebody that gets hurt that works for us.
and we have doctors and nurses and people in the village that
Yeah.
we know where they are and that have offered to help. And if we've got a place and we can get, okay, let's stockpile some saline, let's stockpile,
Well, and I think definitely
You don't have to triage under a tent.
with
we're in the chapel among everybody else,
our EVER, we need to develop the medical team within EVER
And Rob
over.
was one of the nation's leading
Yeah, he has a
Laboratory.
lot of medical knowledge.
specialists testing, he's got the capability and he's a co-chair of OVERT. He's got if we tell him we've got a place to create a facility, we'll get the people.
Remember, whatever helps the community, especially in medical, will help staff because they're gonna be working in dangerous conditions.
Yeah.
Well, and it applies equally to bringing in somebody who has medical issues from Netarts, if hopefully they can get
Oh,
here,
yeah,
to be in that facility.
I
You
assume
have
that.
vulnerable part of the people that live here too.
Right.
Not just elderly.
I assume there would
having
be
a
a joint.
generator here and having power, we can bring people that have oxygen here with a concentrator instead of trying to figure out a way to get more portable oxygen cylinders taken to the chapel, to their house. So,
But really, I think we would try to avoid the chronics. Try to find a way people can stay at home to deal with
yeah,
oxygen.
I'm just thinking about the ones that are on home oxygen or
Yeah.
Super Bowl.
Okay, That's
Okay.
details. It's line drawing.
Very cool. We got a lot farther than I thought.
I did, or I agree.
Okay. So is there anything else we want to cover today? When,
Quite a bit.
Yeah. I think we
when
did.
to get back together, or what's the next step in general for emergency planning? Do we reconvene a mini workshop day? Or do we report back to the board with some things we've found? Or where do you want to go with this aspect of the process?
I think we can make it a board
A meeting.
item.
Meeting item?
Because it's not like it's all or
Do we
nothing.
need to test the dumping things into a wet well, or is that something we know works?
No, it works.
Okay.
We have buckets that we have to dump in there.
Brian's tried it.
So like before we do any kind of public information, we have to be sure everybody's on the same page.
It seems to me,
It's just like anything, on the devil list is stuff that you can't.
Yeah. Yeah.
So don't bring us your garbage and your trash. Do you remember during COVID-19 how they took the porta potty down at the main pump station you guys had down there, and they told her full of garbage? They were
No.
using it, they were,
I didn't.
oh, you did? Yeah, they came out and porta potty people were mad, but it wasn't. It was people getting rid of their garbage.
Well, that on the north side of the fence line up there, they were using that as their
So
bathroom.
we'll have to have, we'll have to have that it can only be, you know, put plain term. You can only put number one, number two in.
Yeah.
Toilet paper is okay,
Not sanitary napkins.
not sanitary napkins, put those in garbage, maybe wet wipes, sterilize the wipes. Put those in, because those get harmed to the folks.
Yeah.
so it appears to me like there's going to be a somewhat of a mini plan for how this will generally work. And then maybe the result is some sort of a flyer or something else out to the public that says, hey, in an emergency, this is what will work.
So I
And
think
this
we
is
need to,
what will, the sanitary district will support.
so I think we need to put together the logistics of what we can offer.
Yeah.
And then we will iron out the specifics of how each part of that's going. Does that sound fair?
And then we create a communication plan.
Yeah. Because right now it's just a concept.
Yeah. Plus there may be something we're not even thinking about that North County does.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna find out when I call
Okay, so on this particular item, 30 days, 60 days to report back to the board as far as progress?
them. 60 days works.
If I could ask maybe, and I don't know, Dan, I don't want to interfere with your report, but maybe we add kind of an ongoing thing on the report so it stays fresh. in our minds.
Well,
I think we should put it on the agenda.
On the agenda is
Yeah,
fine.
and then it stays on the agenda.
The emergency planning in general?
I think we have. Stays on there. Do we need to change it from workshop?
Well, I
to
think from
emergency?
workshop though, anything that's emergency planning should go on to that, so it's specific. We're gonna work on this emergency plan, so it's like we're done before the point, or, you know,
Logistics of that,
yeah.
getting them unlocked, some of them aren't. Because we have to, the emergency teams have to talk now using this
But
information.
we're gonna have to involve Netarts Water District in this because they're gonna be a key to all this working.
And
And by the way, getting that hookup to Oceanside water is now more important.
That, yes and no. It's really more important probably to Oceanside.
yeah, that's what I was gonna say. They should be
But
reported.
I think for what we're talking about and the triage part of it and taking care of an emergency, we need to make sure that Netarts Water District is on board with NOSD and the fire department. We have that understanding. At least we've got this much. Then we can work on that.
And you said we already have a direct line
Direct line.
to the tank.
Yeah.
So if there's anything we need to do to safeguard that more or anything, that should also be included in the discussion. You've said not, so.
It's buried and safe. It's involved.
So then really it's just a matter of what if the water's running low up there? Yeah.
Well, that'll be the key. Can they still make it? I do know that they have generators. They have 2 generators now. So the key is their water source depends on, I guess, what kind of,
It's mostly a lot of surface water off of Fall Creek
Right, but
and then. I
But
don't
they
know what
have pumps they need to
Yeah,
Then they
run.
have
So,
to pump it into.
they may not be able to make 100% of the water that they can make now, but even if they make a small amount every day, because of the turbidity and the acidity gets high and they have to clean the water more, they make less water before the tank. But they need to put together an emergency plan because we don't know how their plant works.
Yeah.
And they,
This summit, we'll have the summit and get some,
and their generators are portable, so even if we have to supply diesel, keep those going because they don't, you and I can work that out with them.
They're gas though, aren't they?
No, diesel.
Really? Okay.
They're kind of a big unit, like we bought. our
Oh, okay.
portable unit.
All right.
So,
after the tree fell incident,
Well, yeah.
then they were like, oh shit, because
they were out of power for 7 days. They made no
Right.
water for anybody.
Oh, yeah. I do remember that.
Yeah. Oceanside was,
a lot of YMCA showers I heard.
Oceanside ever bought a generator to start their plant up because they do what, a 3 or 4 day reserve? Isn't that what their tanks are
I
supposed to
think
be
so,
for?
yeah.
So it's supposed to be a 3 or 4 day reserve. Well, Netarts Water kept their tanks low because they didn't want to pay to make up more water. So when the line broke, because it drained almost what was left in his tanks, they had nothing to put into the lines. So that means the fire department, all their fire hydrants were dead.
Yeah. It was a thing.
I was working on a plan to have Zwald with his milk tankers bring out fresh water and surcharge the lines with water, just to get some water back to the homes. So. We were gonna use the sewer trucks, we were gonna use fresh.
That's nice to know.
The big silver tank trucks, those are the good ones.
Okay.
You see the painted one? Don't.
Yeah, so anyway, yeah, we even looked at where we could put water in the lines by trucking it in.
All right, anything else we need to cover?
Pretty good.
If not, our workshop is adjourned for today at 4:51.
Okay.
And we have 40 minutes.
Are we ordering pizza for that?